Hey folks, the 500th episode of WTF is brought to you by A24, presenting Obvious Child, the hit of this year's Sundance Film Festival, starring Jenny Slate, Jake Lacey, Gabby Hoffman, Gabe Liebman, and David Cross. Jenny plays Donna Stern, a struggling Brooklyn comedian who remembers seeing the condom that one night, just not exactly what it did. The Dissolve says, "It's far and away the most winning abortion-themed rom-com ever made." How's that for a pull quote? Movie Phone says it's hilarious, heartbreaking, and totally genius. And Film Threat says it's a true star-making performance for Jenny Slate. This summer, choose funny. Obvious Child opens in New York and L.A. on June 6th and opens in additional cities every week following. Check your local listings or visit obviouschildmovie.com. We're also sponsored by One Night Only, an all-star comedy tribute to Don Rickles. This Wednesday, May 28th at 9 p.m. Jerry Seinfeld, David Letterman, Jon Stewart, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Jimmy Kimmel, Johnny Depp, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, and more. Stand up for the Don of comedy, Don Rickles. It's One Night Only, Don Rickles. This Wednesday, May 28th at 9, only on Spike. All right, let's do it. Let's do the show. Hey, it's Mark. Welcome to the 500th episode of WTF. Where's the theme song? What's happening? Well, I wanted to do something different. I can't talk and play at the same time, so this is really difficult. But I wanted to do something different. Because I've heard that theme song about 500 times now, and I love that theme song. I love our opening music. It's a great composition. I didn't play on it. And I'm not saying it's going away. It's not going away. But I thought for the 500th episode of WTF, I should do something. I should do something different. I should try something. Right? And one thing that I've never done, I don't think. What haven't you done, Mark? I've never done this. Make it my own a little bit. All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck nicks, what the fucksters, what the fuckadelics, what the fuckaholics, what the fuckaristas, what the fuckleberry thins, what the fuck rakers, and of course, what the fuck minster fullers, what the fuckanucks, what the fuckanavians, what the fuckaricans, all of you guys, all of you. Oh my God. It is the 500th episode of WTF. And I know I changed the tone at the beginning because I wanted to change the tone at the beginning. This is going to be a very personal show. It's going to be a personal celebration and not so much a look back, but a look at the present 500 episodes. And I couldn't be more grateful for all of you people who listen to me. I couldn't be more grateful for what's happened in my life. But problems remain. But I have changed. I think if we look back, if we look at the record, I'm a different man than I was when I started. Many of you have grown up with me over the last 5 years. 2009, 5 years. Really? God damn. Is that true? It's been about 5 years, almost 5 years. Is that possible? So a lot of you have been here since the beginning, and some of you just coming in now or whenever you came in, or even if you don't listen to this part of it, I hope have registered a change in my disposition. Now, this show, I know a lot of you were thinking, like, who's it going to be? Who's going to be on the 500th? Who's going to be the big guests? What are we going to hear? But after all was said and done, we realized, my partner, Brendan Macdonald, and myself, Brendan, who has worked with me for years since I first started doing radio when I was not a child, but I certainly didn't know how to do radio. He's now a full-time producer of WTF. And we started talking about it, and we thought, well, why don't we just talk about where we're at now? Where are we at with the show at 500 episodes? I mean, it's an amazing thing that I have no idea that I would do 500 episodes of anything, let alone something that seems so important to me and to other people. It's very overwhelming to me that this is all happening, that my life has changed so dramatically throughout the course of this show. That's something that I did out of desperation in my garage changed my life entirely. I now have a television show, which is something I never thought I would have. My stand-up has become more relevant. I think that, we changed, not single-handedly, obviously, but, my timing was right for once in my life, and the medium of podcasting has now become, viable and popular, and a lot of people are doing it. I think that the tone of honesty and seeking authenticity in expression is culturally relevant now. I'm not responsible for it, but it seems that, again, perhaps my cosmic timing was right, and things were ready for change. The struggle I have is that what is the risk? What is the risk? I mean, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. You all know that I've had a problem with my father because of my television show, because of things I've said in the book. Many relationships have been strained and broken because of what I do with my form of expression, whether it's on stage or whether it's here in the garage or whether it's in writing. And I don't know that many people do what I do, or perhaps they don't do it quite the way that I do it. And I'm not saying that necessarily is a good thing. I've had discussions with, like, David Sedaris about the nature of using your family or using people in your life. Maybe I'm not as, I can't do it as non-toxic as he can, but it is difficult. And that's my biggest fear, is that is the price that I pay for being the type of person I am and doing it my way or this way, am I ultimately going to end up alone? Am I going to frighten away, every woman who's possibly going to want to spend their life with me because they don't want to be talked about? Then do I have to censor myself? It gets a little tricky. I don't know how frightened I'll become of speaking frankly about my relationships with people, but I try to do it in a general way, but it still gets me into trouble. Does this sound like a celebration? Look, it is. But this is where I'm at now. I've got a heavy heart. I've got a heavy heart about things I've said publicly. I've got a heavy heart about the strain that my honesty and the nature of how I express myself has affected people. But do you keep going on? Of course you do. Is it worth, being alone ultimately? Will I be? I don't know. But the other elements of this 500th show that I want to share with you is that, it's celebrating the idea that you can do something on your own, that you can, evolve as a person, that you can build a business out of nothing. I'm not a businessman. I don't know how Brendan and I put this together. I don't know how ultimately I've grown to be able to make somewhat of a living out of my garage. Many of you know the story of the desperate beginnings of WTF and where I was at. But there was a moment where I realized that not only was the show going to be great, and not only was it going to work, and was the work worth it, but that I wasn't alone in the world. That I think that many of you know that when I started the show, I needed a lot of help. I needed help emotionally. I'd gone out to sea. I'd become cynical and depressed and completely, in my mind, irrelevant. I was in some sort of show business Siberia. And there was this moment I had early on with Bob Odenkirk, and many of you know him from Mr. Show with Bob and Dave. But I'd known Bob a long time, and I'd always been envious of him, and I'd always thought that he was one of those guys that had his shit together, and that he never had any of the stresses that would derail him career-wise. And this was a fairly common thread throughout the early WTFs is my deep resentment and my deep need to sort of humble myself, or to at least get some, emotional traction in the world. So I would talk to people I knew, and it was hard with Bob because I do have a great deal of respect for him. And I always thought that his ambition and his focus and his creativity was just something I didn't possess, and that he didn't live with the same problems I live with. But there was a moment during that show that was sort of the portal to what WTF became and to what I became as a human being. It all sort of hinges a bit on Bob Odenkirk. You know what I sensed about you, though, and because of what you're saying specifically, is I think I was that insane at one time. And I think that, that you don't indulge that at all. Like, if those people are around you, you will sort of like, okay.
A lot of self-preservation.
Right. And
but also, I'm pretty crazy, too. I got a lot of, But you're not destructive.
Do you feel like you are? I mean, you don't seem self-destructive.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it seems that...
Dude, I don't know. I got my own battles to fight. They're not...
They
may not be
what's the biggest
alcohol
one?
Or pills.
But just the level of self-criticism. Rage? Yeah, you got the rage? Yeah.
Frustration, rage. I think, in a weird way, one of the things I've been facing up to and I've always known this was true. So many things about yourself that you someday have to confront are things that you always knew.
Oh, yeah, they're sitting right there.
Someday I'm going to have to deal with that. Yeah. And then the day comes.
Yeah, and you're like,
damn it. The line, I thought I wouldn't have to.
The line is drawn by you or someone else.
Yeah.
The fact that he battled with rage and the fact that it was something we had in common, I don't know why it seemed so, abstract to me, but it was. And that sort of began this tone of kindred spiritness, of that we're all carrying a certain burden, whatever it is. And that helped me. Like, that moment for me was, I don't know if you can hear it, but it was like A Few Good Men when Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. Like, there was a mind-blowing moment there that this person that I put up on a pedestal and revered and envied as a peer, was struggling with anything. I don't know why I couldn't see that or why I didn't assume that, but I didn't. And God knows that I struggle, and God knows that I continue to struggle. But things are okay right now. And sometimes I have no perspective of that. And I don't know where I came from, and I don't know exactly... I don't always know how I got here. I don't always have perspective. Even the people in my family, how they register it. I don't know. I know my father's pissed off, but I don't talk to my brother about stuff. And my brother Craig is, we've had a brotherly relationship. It's been up and down. It's been difficult at times, but we're okay now. And I've never really talked to him at all about what he thinks is going on here in my life. Let me see if I can get him on the phone.
Hello.
Hey, buddy, can you hear me?
Yep.
That's great. So, Craig, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Just working. Everything's good.
That's good because, that's nice to hear because I don't really have time for your problems right now.
I'm glad we're getting that out of the way early.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you're doing well. I guess, my questions are, since obviously no one has known me as long as you have, being my brother, there's a couple questions. Now, were there periods in my life, like I know, we were always close, but there were times where, you were doing your thing and I was doing mine. Were there periods where you thought like, Mark's in trouble. I don't think he's going to pull out of it.
With respect to your comedy or just in general?
Sure. We can go macro and micro.
All right. I never, when we were young, I had the little brother, big brother thing going. So even when you were dodging trouble and dealing with the family, it never occurred to me that it was good or bad. You were just my brother doing your thing. So
right.
The only thing I really worried about you was when you were in L.A. Dealing with the Comedy Store.
Right.
And I think the reason I worried then was because I'd come out and spend a couple days with you, and they were pretty heavy days. And I felt that my responsibility was to be at your level, and whatever that took, I was going to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then when I came home after that weekend, it took me about 2 weeks to get my head straight, and it was in that moment where I realized what you were living through, and I had some concerns.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so and obviously we've both been through our struggles with this stuff, but do you in the last few years have you noticed a difference in me? Have I evolved or changed? Am I moving in the right direction?
Yeah, there's been a tremendous change. When I talk about you, it's amazing to me that and awesome that you have found your niche in the world, and your success is coming from actually having a genuine, a sincere, genuine interest in other people. Because that hasn't been your past, as you know.
Wait. No, I'm not. No, I'm not sure I do know that. Wait. So you're saying that in the past, so it's surprising to you that my success is built on my ability to be there for other people, not so much what I used to be like, huh?
Yeah, it's your sincere interest in other people from everything I see in here that has given you the success you have. And that's why people like to be in your garage, because you have a real interest in them. And that's, I haven't that's not the you that I saw growing up.
Really? Who was I interested in?
You were interested in you, I think, would be the, I'm talking later, from college on.
Yeah.
But the caveat there is, my memories of us growing up as brothers is that regardless of what was going on, when it came down to certain situations that needed to be resolved, whether we were in trouble or you stepped up and you knew how to be there for us and for me. So I just need to say that. So you always, from a brother standpoint, you have always been there.
Good.
But from what I know, that hasn't been the case for other people in your life.
Well, okay. So wait. So do you think that? I'm glad that I've grown in that way. There's a fictionalized version of you in one of the episodes this year, and I know you watched a little snippet of the guy I had play you last year. Does any of that make you uncomfortable?
No, he's tall, he's thin, he's handsome. It's everything that strives to be, so it's all good. Okay,
good. Well, I hope that sticks. Now, all right, so now, like, the one issue I'm having, obviously, and we both know, is with Dad in general terms. I haven't, spoken a lot about it to my audience other than we're at odds with each other, and I don't know if it's resolvable. What do you think I should do?
This is a tricky one for me. Because he's my dad too, and I know the dynamic. So I think the right thing at the end of the day is for us to have some space to, for lack, I don't want to say forgive, but to have some space around it. It is what it is. To not carry resentment and hate about it.
Yeah.
And that said, it doesn't necessarily mean engage.
Yeah.
At any real level. It
right.
just means to let go of some of the resentment. Now, again, having said that, it takes very little for me to jump on the anger wagon and say, hell with all that. But ideally, I think we need to have space around it and just let it be with a very cautious engagement.
All right, cautious engagement. All right, well, okay, I live with that. All right, man, well, I love you. Thanks.
I love you too, brother. Bye-bye.
Right, bye. So I guess he does sense a change. There is a change in me. Well, I worry, and I've told you this before, I worry that my relationship with you, my listeners, is more comfortable and more emotionally well-rounded and deeper than relationships I have with people I've known for years. Because they have to deal with the full brunt. They have to deal with, some paralyzing insecurities that I have sometimes. They have to deal with, anger. They have to deal with the sort of the dead zones, the erratic behavior. And this is really the centerpiece of my 500th episode. And this is sort of a long time coming. My friend, well, we weren't friends for a long time, but Steve Brill is a guy I went to college with. Okay. And I know some of you, because if you listen to me, you've got to have this type of relationship in your life. I'm a fairly myopic guy emotionally. I'm very intense. I'm very sensitive, and I run pretty deep. But I'm myopic. I'm narrow. That all I really need is one good friend, and they're in for it because I need a lot. Now I met Steve in college, and we wrote together. We were best friends. We took trips together. I came out to L.A. Very early on, after college to write and work with Steve. I mean, we have had a friendship since when? Since like 84, 85. But there was about a decade there, and it's been on and off, where I just couldn't stand him. We did things together that you guys don't really know about, and you're going to learn about here, a little bit about my past. But my jealousy and our emotional tension was, profound through all of it. And to get back to somewhat one of the themes of the show is that the character in the Projections episode of season 1 of Maron, the Eric Stoltz character was based on Steve. I'll admit that. It was based on Steve, and it was based on our relationship. He went on to create the Mighty Ducks 1 and 2. He directed Heavyweights. He did a few Adam Sandler movies. He had a fairly, huge career in show business, and don't think I didn't resent it. Because, quite honestly, the first time I did stand-up comedy was with Steve Brill I was in a comedy team in college, and that's where it all started. And I'm going to talk to Steve now because he was upset about the Eric Stoltz thing, and quite frankly, he was upset about a lot of things. But this is a part of my life and a relationship in my life that I don't think I've shared with any of you. And there needs to be some work done within it. And I'm going to talk to Steve Brill now, the film director, but also my original comedy partner. Folks, listen, I wanted to take a minute to tell you we're sponsored today by Earthquaker Devices, and I like being sponsored by a guitar pedal company for my 500th episode. I mean, come on! If you're looking for some good fuzz or delay or some boost on your guitar, you'll want to get to know Earthquaker Devices. They're a small operation out of Akron, Ohio, and they make some great pedals at great prices. I got some pedals from Earthquaker. Look, they sent me an entire pedal board. I've got like 10 pedals. I can sit in my living room for 2 days without sleep and make noises that I've never heard come out of guitar before and still have plenty of more noises to make. How's that for a plug? Earthquaker has been building innovative effect pedals by hand in Akron since 2004. Their pedals have been getting great reviews in top guitar industry publications. They just released a new pedal called the Palisades, which you can check out at earthquakerdevices.com by going to the shop page. Go shop for some pedals and watch some video demos. And WTF listeners can get 15% off if you enter the code EQDWTF at checkout. That's earthquakerdevices.com. Enter the code EQDWTF at checkout. And we're also sponsored by GoToMeeting. Not all meetings can be planned in advance. Things come up, last-minute opportunities, work emergencies, great ideas to discuss. You know, that stuff. And with people working from different offices or on the go, it can be impossible to get everyone in the same room when you need to meet. So be prepared. Use Citrix GoToMeeting, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate online, whenever you need to, wherever you are. I like using it and seeing everyone in those little boxes all over the screen. Makes me feel like I work in the future. Sign up for GoToMeeting from your computer or mobile device and launch your first meeting in seconds. Share your screen to collaborate on documents, spreadsheets, and projects in real time. And turn on your webcam to see each other face to face in little boxes. GoToMeeting can save you time and money and lets you work smarter. Start your free 30-day trial of GoToMeeting today. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use the promo code WTF. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code WTF.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
I should find those pictures of us.
Which one?
Well, you have pictures of us.
Yep.
And I have pictures of us from that cross-country journey we took.
Yeah, New Mexico,
right.
Raphael Silvercloud
Lounge.
Is it still there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. They put a casino out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so Steve Brill is here, and I'm not sure what we're going to try to do.
Me neither.
Well, the reason you're here is because you are the first person I did comedy with. We were best friends in college. We did stand-up together. The first time I ever did stand-up, It was you and me.
Yeah.
But how did we become friends? Because you've gone on to direct many movies, write movies, have a very prolific and lucrative career that I resented for decades.
It's not that lucrative. You never knew. It wasn't. You resented all the wrong things.
I did?
Always, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. How did we meet, though? Do you remember?
In college, I really don't. I try to think about it. We weren't roommates. You were down the hall. You were friends of a friend. I don't remember how, except you were that crazy guy.
Yeah.
Or cool guy. You were actually pretty cool. You were
Come
pretty cool
on.
until I got to know you.
Yeah.
You were kind of that awesome guy, because you also, I think you were a leather jacket guy for a while.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Black leather jacket.
Yeah.
I had one of those,
Yeah, a good one.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. Boots.
Maybe.
Black jeans.
But then I got very preppy at some point.
Yeah, you did get preppy.
And I got kind of
awesome.
like hipster-y.
You went through all of them.
But I just don't remember. I
don't remember first meeting you. It was probably, again, through Brad, your roommate. I knew, and then you were hanging out, and then we clicked on some level, which had to be comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be that you were a kid who had Albert Brooks albums.
Right.
And Woody Allen albums,
right.
which were a sort of currency for guys
right.
like us to talk about.
Right.
That was fun. And then music, because you also had a guitar
The
in there.
Stones, right?
Yeah, and you were I was a very poor guitar player, but a high school player, and you were kind of advanced, and that was awesome. And so we would jam, and we would talk comedy, and you were cool.
But like, how did we, like, I do remember that we were friends.
Yeah.
So we had that. We were funny, and but you were very Hollywood to me. You had, from what I remember, you had a lot of your dad's clothing that he didn't wear anymore. That you seemed to your hair.
Who was my dad?
I don't remember.
Eric
but
Cohen from Hollywood. What do you mean?
No, but I just mean like your clothes were kind of you were
old
your
man
hair
clothes?
Not old man, but you seemed Hollywood to me.
What is Hollywood in 1980?
Well, your hair was always combed properly.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh.
And then...
I was trying to do some sort of throwback look, I think.
I met you after you had done some theater. That's right. You were a year ahead of me, and you directed some plays, and that was interesting to me.
Right.
And then I think before we even did the stand-up together, you cast me in that play, that Ayn Rand play.
Yeah.
As the cop who hangs around in the lobby.
Yeah.
And you were the lead in that play. And that caused... I feel like that was before we did stand-up. We did theater together. We ran around with those stage troupe people. Mike Chiklis did fine.
Chiklis was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I feel okay. So you and I hit it off, and then we, for some reason,
we hit it off, and the comedy thing came. I remember it so distinctly. One of those few exact moments I don't have to sort of recreate or reimagine. Is I was going up the escalator at Warren Towers, which is the big dorm room, which had this big 2-story escalator. And I was going up, and they would post things all the way up, so you would just see flyers everywhere. And then the flyer directly ahead of me, was a little thing hanging down that said HBO campus comedy, need comedians.
Right.
So it sort of also made you think, like, oh, are they talking to us, or is that we supposed to go see it, or maybe it's an audition? And I literally reached up and grabbed the ticket. They had one of those ripped tickets to call this number. This is how showbiz worked back then. And we called a number. And I remember my first thing was, I can't do this alone. How can I do this? I don't have the guts or the material to do this. And I immediately thought of talking to you about it, not knowing if you would be into it or... Right. But I went running over and finding you. I said, look, TV. I mean, HBO, which was fledgling at that time, which wasn't like...
It wasn't nothing. I mean, it was what? That was 1982?
Yeah, they'd maybe done a few things, but
it was It was HBO live on campus comedy, and Catch a Rising Star was involved somehow.
Yeah.
And you come over with this thing, and we're like, well, we got to write an act.
We got to do an act.
And we did. We wrote like 5 or 6 sketches.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then we started performing them in front of our friends.
Yes, we went to my sister was there in college, and we performed in front of her in her sorority house.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
They said, they just stared at us like...
They did?
Yeah, and they said,
I don't remember that.
Good.
I don't remember that
and
at all.
our sketches were just doing sort of characters, like stereotypes of the Jewish American princess.
Right, we were at the Jewish American princess funeral. Like 2 Japs looking at their dead friend. And then I remember there was one about...
tripping on the moon.
Being on acid on the moon.
Yeah.
And then there was one about, for some reason we did how the N-word was invented.
Yes. We were so edgy.
Cutting edge. It was ridiculous.
Well, we also did punk rock. So we sort of did a survey of the kinds of characters that we saw. So we, related to our surroundings. Right. There were punk rocks. There were Japs. There were rich kids, preppies. Right. And I think we just sort of did a survey of trying to impersonate them or make fun of them.
Was it like 5 sketches? 4?
5 sketches.
I remember 3. Yeah. I remember the we were tripping on the moon.
You were a punk.
The 2 punk guys.
We were angry. They were trust fund punks, I think was the idea.
Okay, that was the joke.
Where we got to scream and say, fuck this, fuck that, fuck Reagan.
Right. So you and I, we put this stuff together. Then we go to this audition that was like not at BU. It was somewhere else. It was like BC or something.
Yeah, or Emerson. Yeah, one of these places. Yeah.
In like a classroom.
Right.
And we do the thing, and they love it.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Right? That we killed. I remember there's some woman there.
Yeah.
And we do well.
Yeah.
But they don't give us the show.
They do give us the show to the point where we celebrate a little bit and we say we got the show, but they said we're alternates. Remember?
Yeah.
Because we went to the taping sort of thinking we might get on.
All right, so here's what happens. Yeah. So we feel bad, we go to the taping, and then they tell us, well, look, you can come to New York and perform at Catch a Rising Star.
Rick Newman himself, who's very nice.
He's still very nice.
Yeah.
Rick Newman says you can come and do a set, and it's like, that's it, man.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the time span was. Oh, dude, we forgot the whole... No, we did not get that show. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
No.
We auditioned, and they're like, we love you. We want to see you in front of a comedy club audience. And then they put us on at the Comedy Connection, and we tanked.
Oh, God, that's right.
So bad.
That knocked me out of the game. That performance, that's right.
We
knew
tanked.
I would never make it. We tanked.
Horrendous.
Crickets. Yeah, big audience.
Big packed.
Yeah.
Ate it. And we were bumbling over each other. The worst kind of bomb.
I almost darted off the stage at one point.
The worst.
You there.
The worst bomb.
Yeah. It was
and they were like, look, you guys are maybe...
Not ready.
That's so funny that in your brain you were like, we were alternates. In my brain, like, we fucked it up completely. I don't even know which is true.
Oh, that's right. They had no intention of putting us on. We were very close. Then we fucked it up.
In the comedy club.
As maybe it was just
as
being
a concession.
Nice. Concession, which they didn't have to do. They said, when you're in New York, we'll put you on a catch.
And we were like, that's our break.
We made it. You mean there's a chance? Yeah. So,
and then I remember we made the trip to New York.
Yeah.
And it was also at that time, didn't we also meet someone who wrote at SNL? Because I remember, I don't remember which trip was which, but I think we went down to New York to do our Catch a Rising Star spot, and we met someone who wrote at SNL.
I remember named Pam Morris for some reason was connected to someone.
That's right.
Morris?
Something like that.
Yeah. And somehow we had access, which is so funny because when you're young, you don't think you're allowed access to any of these people or things. They just exist in this impenetrable bubble and world. And we got a little access. We're like, oh, this person is a cousin of someone.
Right.
We can get our stuff in through them. And, this was a dream, though.
Right. Yeah. So we go to New York, and I don't remember, like, at all, maybe it's two different trips, but we go to Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah.
They put us on late.
Yeah.
And we do the fuck Reagan bit.
Yeah.
And what was it? James was
No, but the story was, and this was a big deal to us, and it was a proper night too. Mm-hmm. I don't think they were like it wasn't
packed or anything.
Well, it wasn't not packed because it was packed enough. There was a crowd, and we were about to go on. This is 100% true. We were just about to go on. We had our act down. I guess we were super nervous, and. It wasn't for a good story I would say Secret Service, but it wasn't. It was the owner of the club or the manager came over and goes, you got to know this is James Brady's first night out. He's coming in. They're going to roll him in a second. This was after the shooting in 1981, so you could find out 7 months his recovery. He wants to laugh tonight. He's out. You're going to happen to be performing for him. So the Secret Service asked if there's any material that you want to reconsider or anything like that. And literally our first stupid piece was me getting on stage being blah, blah, and some guy in the audience heckling me, which was you, going, fuck you. I'd be like, oh, we have an angry young man out there. No, fuck angry young man. And then it all wound up with him going, Reagan, and us both go, fuck Reagan.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so...
Could we do it? Did we do it?
We did it.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, we did it for James Brady, and they rolled him in, and he had kind of a permanent smile, probably because of the state he was in, so you couldn't tell.
Well, you think I would have thought that the idea would be not to do that, but we did it.
We did it.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you said we're doing it.
Probably.
And this
I'll take it.
No, but this becomes. You taking a stand for sure. Maybe one of the first times you said, "I don't care what the audience thinks." That was the defining moment where you just said, "I don't fucking care."
The night that led me to waste 20 years.
Could have been.
All right, so but here's what I remember. I remember we go to my grandma Goldie's house, and they're not home. Right. I don't know where they were, but we were staying there, and we wrote SNL sketches.
Yep.
We sat there, and we wrote a package, and you were like, this is it. Yep. And then we sent them in, nothing. We pursued it. But see, I forgot this whole part of my life, that as I get older, I think that you always knew that show business was a business, and it was a business that people get in, and there was different levels to it. You grew up out here.
I didn't.
Kind of did.
No, I didn't.
Well, you had your uncle.
My mom moved here when I was 17. We grew up in Florida, remember?
Oh, yeah.
A real story. I know it doesn't fit the narrative you want to tell, but I was...
Because by the time I knew you, you had an uncle who was a plastic surgeon.
Yes, I did. I had the craziest uncle in the world who's still around and lives out here. But that was just... My mom moved out here to work for him, and I was 17. And then I would spend that first summer out here, and that's where I got exposed.
But I feel like you were locked in. You
I was Mr. Hollywood. I was.
You were.
I was, but it was only that summer. I didn't grow up here. I took my mom's car. My uncle was a...
Is that...
I can't say what he was, but...
oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, he was a crazy person. He was one of the first founders of the AA chapter out here. The one that started...
Oh, yeah? But didn't stick, I guess.
It did stick. Once he got in, he stayed in.
Oh, good.
But he used to take me. This was also that summer before I met you or whatever. I would come out and he would take me to AA meetings. And
oh, really?
It was so fun. I saw Richard Pryor perform at the AA meeting. I saw Richard Dreyfuss. I saw all these people. So it was also like a great experience for me. I pretended I was on drugs.
Oh, good. But okay, so in my mind though, you knew show business, and so here we were going to do this. Submitted this package, and I don't know if I was prepared for anything. You know, you and I had done theater together, or whatever, and then you leave. Yeah, we didn't get the gig on SNL, obviously, and then you graduate, and then I decide to pursue solo stand-up. And I do a summer of it, the summer that you left. I think that you came back and we still had another year of hanging out and fighting and, arguing over women and fucking having falling outs.
I think we tried to do a Stitches show or something.
We did?
I think we tried to
put you did solo stand-up. No,
we both did solo and we watched each other at Stitches.
That's right.
It was horrible.
So you're doing solo stand-up, I'm doing solo stand-up, and then after a summer of that, I couldn't hack it, and then you went away, and then I did the rest of the year, and then I came, and then my first instinct was to move to Hollywood with you. We're going to write. Yeah. That was the plan. I was going to move in with you.
Yeah, I had set up a real nice place for you.
Yeah, in Culver City. Uh-huh. Oh, man, it was so sad.
It was. Romantic sad? No, just sad.
It was a big apartment. Yeah. But, I got here and I felt like you were already locked in. It was sort of like you'd been here a year. Yeah. You were hanging out with Berg and Mendelsohn and who were some of the other characters that you were definitely you had a crew. And at that time, I didn't understand that that's what you needed to do in Hollywood. That's what people do here.
Me personally or everyone? Yeah,
no, everyone.
Clicks or clues, survival sort of. Yeah, because you had them in college. I mean.
But also it's just the way the business works. If one guy's he wants to be a producer, the other guy wants to be an agent, you want to write scripts, y'all come up together. Hopefully someone gets in that you can go hey, remember we were that's how it works.
It does. I guess, it did fall out that way. I didn't think it was on purpose, but I wound up with Pete Berg, who's now a director. He was an actor at that time. He was a guy I knew.
I took you guys' first headshots.
Oh, you did? That's right. You have our headshots, yeah.
Well, so here's what happened. Right. So we go to Culver City. I go to Culver City. I move in with you. This is part of my career in life that people don't really know about. Yeah. So I move out here. I've already got a little bit of a coke habit. And, you're running around with your pals. I'm trying to re-engage because I'm a very demanding friend. I don't like you having other friends. I don't know why they don't like me. I'm going to cause trouble. Right away, I was a problem. I was drinking and we'd go out together and I didn't know how to hang out with a group of people, right?
Correct. I'm so ready to take responsibility too, but you keep going.
No, but there was, in retrospect, I know that to be true. Yeah. I would go, ugh. I just didn't know how to have fun, and I started to realize I'm sort of a chore on this guy, but we wrote. You remember? I would get up and I would drink.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would pour these drinks that I didn't even want, and we'd sit in that fucking room in that apartment, and we wrote a screenplay that I think had already been written, or something.
No. You had a great idea, and I guess when I got out there, I had a commercial mindset, even though I wanted to be a playwright. We studied playwriting.
We wrote a play.
Yeah, we wrote a play. Yeah.
That was a big deal. That was the best thing we ever did.
It was.
We were in college. You were studying with Derek Walcott and his playwriting thing. Yeah. And you and I basically extended our stand-up in a way that I think what we did with that play outside of just writing it is that we did the best we could as a stand-up team.
Yes.
Because we played two aliens who come down to Earth as old Jews, I think.
Yeah.
And to see how everyone's doing and to find a new Jesus.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's a one act.
Yep.
And we put it on. We packed it. I mean, we had a lot of friends between the two of us.
Yeah.
And it was very funny.
It was. We did it at Derek Walcott, who was this genius West Indian poet, playwright.
Yeah.
What, you don't think he was a genius?
He's a good poet.
Well, no, someone thought he was great. I mean, it was fairly amazing.
He was just very intimidating.
He was very intimidating.
And if you didn't have tits, it was difficult to get his attention.
I know. Well, we got him from Harvard because he was one of the first sort of sexual discrimination lawsuits. But you used to get all these people, great people, as castaways. But we dug in with him, and he had enough clout to set up a theater. And then I was a little pretentious playwriting student. I didn't really think.
You're a little pretentious in general.
Okay. And then, but the funny thing about Derek, is he loved, I thought we were going to be studying, his thing, his expressionistic theater, stuff from the 60s.
Right.
He was a guy who was like, oh man, I love that Alf. And you were like, what? He goes, Alf is such a well-written show. And you're like, oh, okay. How about this Leroy Jones? He's like, oh, man. Do you know anyone who works on Hill Street Blues? He used to tell me, and I was like, that. It was so weird, these great artists. So he encouraged us to do a show. Everyone else was doing these wild, pretentious shows, and we did this straight-ahead Sunshine Boys, stand-up.
Right, and we wrote
it. Did good.
It did good. We wrote these nice pieces, these nice bits. Fast forward, I'm living in your house. Yep. I'm doing blow. You know, you're living the life.
You're drinking in the morning. That's right. That was so exotic, I have to say, because we were all young guys and partied and stuff. But the first guy to drink in the morning is the strange thing to see.
I don't want to characterize it like that was my habit. I think I was doing it for effect.
You were. Yeah. You were doing a lot of things for effect. I mean, and a lot of, but Coke and things in the morning was when, and not sleeping, and you sort of, I felt, got into this darker.
Yeah,
I mean, certainly the Comedy Store was to come, but
that's what. I'm going to explain your responsibility in that, and maybe we can resolve this because I do not really like the email exchange we had.
The recent one?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, it was stupid.
All right.
All right. So we write that script. The idea was a guy takes the bad brown acid at Woodstock. Right?
Your idea, by the way, a great commercial idea, and it's not like you were an anti-commercial guy, but all your ideas, I remember you begrudgingly come and go, this is pretty good, I think, because I was still trying to crack the code of commercial as I have my entire career. I think I had started thinking about the Mighty Ducks by then, and you said, this idea, this guy takes brown acid
And he goes out, he goes into a coma, and he wakes up in the 80s, I guess it would have been. And it was a Rip Van Winkle story.
Yeah, it's great.
And he goes back to retrack his friends. So we wrote every day, and we did the whole sort of, but I think Cheech and Chong made us.
He did later.
Yeah.
As I knew with a great idea like that, someone would do. Right. The 60s version, this was 1980, it was 20 years past the moment, it was kind of the perfect time to do it.
So we did all this fun, like we wrote this whole scene of them in the 60s. Yeah, the long strange strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wrote it, and it took time, and then we went and met with agents.
Yep.
But by the time, my recollection is by the time we were meeting with agents and actually got some attention, I was like, fuck you. Fuck this. I can't fucking live with you. I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know why.
I do.
Why?
Because I was not, I don't know that I understood that show business was a business. I don't think I understood myself. I think I was incredibly jealous of your ability to have relationships with like Pete and with like the business in general. I was raw material, man. Right. And I was I didn't know how to get an apartment. I remember like after we had the falling out, basically what happened, and I don't know what the timing was, is that Pete needed a place to live. And you and Pete were buddies. And Pete is this big, gregarious, like, bullying fucking dude who I got along with.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you're like, Pete's moving in. Oh, yeah, you got to sleep on the couch if you want to stay. So Pete moves into where we wrote. And now I'm the guy on the couch. And you guys would come home with chicks and wake me up.
Oh.
Like I remember like one time you guys were out partying and all of a sudden Pete and you and two girls walk in and you put on, NWA and I'm like in my underwear and a blanket and you're like, what's up, man? And then Pete's like, show me some guitar. It was like a fucking...
The monkey on the couch.
Just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, the headshots, it was sort of funny because Pete was just wanting to be an actor and his big idea at that time was to do a documentary about Prince. I remember that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I took his headshot, which he said he used for years. I don't think
I used mine.
You
too.
did?
I still have it. Yeah.
We just went outside and took pictures.
Yeah.
All right, so then
there's a car going in my ear in the headshot because it's literally out in the street.
Then I go back. I had that weird thing happen where just by coincidence I was doing PA work because you told me I could do that.
Yeah.
And I got into some circuit with that. And I got a job as a PA on a Comedy Store thing, and Mitzi remembered me, and that's when, she was like, yeah, you can be a doorman. It was because it was just coincidence.
Right.
So then within weeks of moving into that girl's place, I'm hanging out at the Comedy Store, I'm doing coke, I'm drinking her liquor, I ended up trying to make out with her one night, and then they had an intervention, her boyfriend and all her friends came to that house down the hall from you guys to throw me out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then now, I got no place to live.
Yeah.
And then that's when I end up at the Comedy Store.
That's right. I forgot about that little moment there.
And that was like the end of
the building and out of the building. Yeah.
That was the end of it.
Right.
And then I went into the fucking dark hole, into the Kennison land. And I don't know what the fuck happened with our relationship, but I have to assume I was pretty fucking mad at you for whatever. And you were probably pretty mad at me because we could have gotten an agent. We could have been screenwriters.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
At that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, the Pete thing was, he was a big personality. I I don't know. That's funny. The male sort of hierarchy, how it can shift around and stuff. And the one thing I like to say I hate more than anything is bullying. I mean, a lot of my movies are really just anti-bullying movies.
Yeah.
But you were bullied a little, I think, which makes me sick to say. I mean, not in a physical way, but just in that jockey fucking,
clicky way.
Maron, fucking Maron.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I felt that.
Look at him, and I am conscious of that. I don't want to take too much responsibility. I want to shift as much as reasonable, but I will take some because that does not make me feel good. And I do and did apologize for that aspect of my personality.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And you wrote me a letter, and we fleshed all this stuff out. But I think that the weirder thing about the dynamic was that, like, now I was in this fucking dark castle.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of coke. You and I were on the outs.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what really happened. I know that I went back to Boston for years, and I don't remember seeing you much. I remember coming out at some point, and you just bought that half-finished house in Beverly Hills.
Which I still live in.
Did you finish it?
Yes, finished, yeah.
And you had a
lives
pool.
have moved through it, yeah.
And I, like, one of the first times we hung out again, I remember it was out by the pool, and you were telling me about this movie you were writing for Dennis Leary and Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's my part?
You were a bit of an oddity at that point, a little bit. Yeah, I was scared of you at that point because you had exhibited enough of the, like, your face is so funny right now. You open the door and the vampire Maron comes in and it's just like you're in for it. Yeah. Whether it's, he's going to be drunk and coked out or yell at you.
Yeah.
I was used to being yelled at.
Fuck. When was that? I was at the Comedy Store and I met you and fucking Sandler for like a hamburger.
Yes.
And, and I was doing my shtick where I'm like, I'm just hanging out doing it. And then, like, I remember distinctly because Sandler, I'm telling drug stories, and Sandler turned to you and goes, "You're not into that, are you?"
To me?
Yeah. Huh? And there was this weird moment where, like, you had to choose allegiances because you really weren't into it. But, like,
drugs.
Yeah.
We all smoke pot, yeah.
Right. But, but I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
And you're like, not really. Yeah. And I realized, like, well, that's it. Well, that must be the beginning of that relationship.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do not remember that moment, but that's an important moment of me choosing to subjugate a part of my personality. I wasn't into coke. I had done plenty.
No, I know.
Stuff, but yeah, I guess I did sort of.
Does that make sense to you?
Maybe. Yeah. As a dynamic.
I know. I felt it. Like like all right, that's But,
oh yeah. Well, I wasn't. Yeah. Again,
that lasted a while.
My allegiance to another dude, which led to another cult-like sect of guys working together, excluding you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I don't know how I would have fit into that.
Again, I will always say, I always try, just like the Mighty Ducks 2. Mighty Ducks 1 was, that I had to handle myself. But once I had power in Mighty Ducks 2, to my credit, I don't know why, I did want you in it. I wanted you to get a SAG card or something.
You did.
And
you got me a SAG card.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy.
What do you mean it wasn't easy?
I don't know. It's so funny. That was like that was your first movie. It was my first.
I was sweating, and you were your first directing. And your what's that guy's name? Joe. Who was the producer?
Jordan Kerner.
Yeah. And like I'm sweating. I'm in my trailer going, like, "Don't sweat to your valet outfit."
Well, tell them the role. The role was simple.
Angry valet.
The Ducks, who are these misfit kids in Beverly Hills, are their fish out of water. They run into an angry actor or screenwriter, whatever, which is great. Right. Who's the valet guy who pretty much says, "This fucking town," but whatever.
Right, you can't. You got to know somebody to get in anywhere in this town, right? Because you're like, right. Just the Ducks are going to show you. But like, it was a simple scene. I'd never been on a movie before, but a lot of plates had to be, a lot of balls had to be set in motion. Yeah. Like there was a Maserati driving out of the garage,
right on Rodeo Drive.
Right on Rodeo Drive. People were moving. The Ducks had got to be moving.
It was a movie, as you know.
And I remember the first 2 takes, I just fucked them up.
And
then you eventually came up to me. It's like you just gotta. It's not that big a part.
You had been up all night.
Is that true?
I remember, and this is the thing.
Is that true?
Yes. Well, that's the thing with me, too, and it's another fault, is that
I wasn't living in L.A., though. I must have come out for it.
Yeah, I mean, you must have come out.
Yeah.
But I was always a little afraid that you were going to embarrass me, which is not, which is another sad thing to
But that's been from the beginning.
Yes, but you've always fulfilled that fear in me. You've always come through.
Yeah.
But the fact that I should be embarrassed is a weird thing. But on a movie set, you were my guy. I wasn't setting you up to fail.
It was easy. Yeah,
I was trying to set you up to succeed. But then I could tell the night before you didn't sleep. You were staying at my house. I remember you were drinking Jack Daniels. Is that possible? Because I remember the square bottles.
Yeah.
And you fell asleep in the trailer. Movies take a while, and it was hot. It was a Sunday. And you were watching religious television all night. I remember that. That's so odd how you remember those details. You were watching preachers, and you were on some preacher rant about the just impossible fraud of organized religion. Yeah. And I was just like, I hope this doesn't. I don't need him to use any of this for this role. I need him to say his line and do it. And he don't access anything. Just say the line and get your SAG card. Yeah. Just do it, Mark. Blows the first takes. I get the tap on the shoulder from the producer, looking at me like, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. And I'm like, no, let's give it another shot. And the kids, the ducks, one of them was like Kenan Thompson, by the way. Do you know that? Yeah. And they're looking at you and going, this guy is overdoing it a little, because when you did do the role, you were like, man, you did. You
came up to me and you said, look, you're scaring the ducks.
You were. That's the famous line. You're scaring ducks. You channeled Dennis Hopper or something for a one-line role.
I did.
And you brought way too much heat to a Disney movie.
And I got cut out.
You did get cut out.
So what happens? You go on to direct the Mighty Ducks 2, which you wrote and directed, and then
I didn't direct.
You just wrote the first one.
Produced, and then
you get into the Sandler camp.
Yeah, no, it was Judd. I didn't work with Sandler. I'd known him before, and Judd was the guy that I hooked up with first, who hadn't done anything really. It was a friend of Sandler. I knew him through him, and I went to him just like we were doing. Judd was sort of living in a similar place in the Valley.
Right.
And I thought he was super talented, and I had this idea for a fat camp for school, and he really liked that idea, and he wrote it with me. And then Sandler movie, I was writing for Sandler or with Sandler sort of as a guy. Sandler hadn't even really, hadn't worked with him, but I was doing Big Daddy rewrites, and then he had this idea for Little Nicky that he was writing, and he brought me in.
I remember. I was like, "That's our play." So some part of me thought like those are our ideas.
Really?
A little.
Really?
A little.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Completely now, in the most insane, sad way that you would have thought that, because, as you know, ideas overlap like crazy. But that's right. There
was part of me that thought like,
but it was his thing. And I didn't bring that to the party. I rewrote his entire fucking run on that, or we worked together. So the foundation had nothing to do with our play. But I can understand, because it had that sort of humor of a guy coming to New York and being exposed to all these different people.
So you did Little Nicky, and did you write Mr. Deeds?
Yeah, I wrote and directed Mr. Deeds.
That was a big one. Little Nicky didn't do that great.
Little Nicky was a disaster. It was, changed the stock offering for Time Warner. It was a disaster. I mean, God bless Adam Sandler, as many people will say. He brought me into that process. I was writing it with him, and then one day he'd been interviewing all these directors, and I'd been in the room too, which was really
He could have thrown you under the bus.
Oh, of course. I mean, so the way I got hired on that, I was writing it with him, and I was writing, this 5,000 demons going to Central Park, and then he'd bring in John Landis or someone to meet, and Sandler's kind of like, John Landis? I go, oh, fuck, yeah. He goes, you want to be in the meeting? Part of me's like, that's not cool to have, like, some schlub in the meeting while you're supposed to be meeting him.
Right.
But I was like, I want to meet John Landis, and so he'd do the interview and so we'd see all these big directors, and I'd just be sitting in the corner going, I hope he hires John Landis or Joe Dante or one of these guys. And Sandler, for whatever reason, would vibe on him and be, yeah. And then he'd turn back to me and we'd start writing again the story. And then for some reason, he just turned to me and goes, why don't you direct it?
Yeah.
And I was writing 5,000 demons, and then I go, 500 demons. I go, 5 demons go from the... And I go, okay, because I was so out of my element with an $80 million movie with the hottest actor in Hollywood who hadn't missed yet.
Yeah.
Wedding Singer, Big Daddy. And then this was an $80 million movie, no comedy cost. This is like Ishtar level fucking movie.
Yeah.
And me, who, was writing it, and I just said yes. I tend to say yes to things, which is sort of an attitude which you take, which usually works out.
Right.
And it was a disaster, unmitigated disaster. Sunk New Line, sunk Warner Brothers, sunk me.
You did that?
I like to take half credit. I'll give Sandler half credit. No, I'll take the credit for the bomb. And, when things are going well, I'll take credit. But, it sucked. I was dead.
Yeah.
No one would hire me except Adam Sandler. That's why we love Adam Sandler. And who knew, who said, and then the next movie was Mr. Deeds, and he took his director from Little Nicky and goes, I want Brill to direct Mr. Deeds, and I want to give him a huge raise. And that's how it only speaks to how big Adam was as a star and as a good guy. And they hired me.
And that one did well.
That one did one of his best, and then I was back. But I was not, like, given full credit, nor should I have been for that. I was a guy who, like, could be plugged in, could be useful, could be...
God, that makes me like Adam.
Yeah. Oh, how could you not like Adam?
Well, no, my thing with Adam Sandler was that, it wasn't I didn't like him. It was, for me, it was all about, like, you know, it just seemed like the comedy was easier for other people, and that things were easier for other people. That I didn't really love his comedy.
You saw his comedy, though, stand up?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was just too cute. He was too confident. It was just
confident.
It was just jealousy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd run into him on the street one time, and he complimented me, and then someone came up to him and wanted his autograph, and he sort of iced me, and I took everything. Everything became very big. Yeah. But, like, this is where I think you and I really go south, is that I was angry and doing comedy, and I did a bit, and I did it on Conan and as well. But it was really not a dig on Sandler in my mind. Right. It was a dig on the cultural phenomenon of Sandler. So in my mind, I separated the two. Right. Like, why shouldn't he be able to? So I do this joke, and it makes reference to Adam Sandler.
What was
fan.
the joke?
It was really just about it was really a cell phone joke about how Beethoven had no idea that eventually his Fifth Symphony would emit from someone's pocket, you know, and the response would be like, "Oh fuck, it's my mom." And then it was like, you know, it was some riff on some kid on a skateboard with his hat turned backwards, you know, like like Adam Sandler fan, you know, it was a descriptor.
No, it wasn't. No. I mean, I remember a Howard Beale like rant against him systematically lowering the standards of the country.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, I mean,
that was part of the bit.
You didn't do that on Conan, I don't think.
No,
no, you did.
I think I did.
You did do something, but it was pretty direct and like.
Yeah. You're right.
Commentary.
I do that at the Improv, and I walk outside, and you walk out, and I think I knew you were there.
You invited me. That was the part of your sickness, is you would invite me.
Is that true?
Yes, because as far as I'm concerned, you would set me up a lot to do this. I mean, to any power you felt you had, you would bring me in
and like, look at what I'm doing,
and then insult me directly, and then say, "How could you be insulted?" Which you knew I would be insulted.
Well, I think in my mind it was like, I did the real thing.
Oh, that's true too.
I did stand up. You couldn't take it.
That's true.
You couldn't hack it.
I could not.
You pussy.
That burned me for sure.
Did it?
Yeah.
How could it?
Because I failed at it. You know, I admittedly, maybe the one thing I don't think I was any good at all. And you had that life, and you were the one-man show, which I always envied and still envy, you know, the fact that you access yourself, and I access a world of ideas and other people and stories.
I wish I could do that more.
I wish I could do what you do.
Holy shit.
Are we
going to start writing again? Is that
Let's go. Let's go.
We got the idea. Well, but, I think that was always our dynamic, though, that you had this sort of ability to be charming and control the situation and keep your cool. And I was like, bleh!
Yeah.
And it was always a dynamic that we had. And
that night outside the Improv, you invited me there, and I wanted to support you because even though maybe, to be honest, a part of it's like a pity support at that point because you were like fucking... No, I mean, you...
Sweaty.
You were sweaty, and I dragged other people. I might have dragged Judd or someone like that there, too.
Really?
Yes, because, you know...
Because you were like, he's a comic, you should see him.
Yep. No, even what I felt personally, which is a good dynamic with you, too. You might
want to help him out.
You might have a thing with somebody, but still you'd be like, all right, look at this guy, he's my guy.
Yeah.
And I brought people there, and then literally it was like...
You brought people.
I'm sure I did, and literally you get up there, and you're doing okay.
But like I remember, like I was probably doing well, and I knew you were there. It was just sort of like
exactly. You pulled the cord. You turned it into a bit of a rant, which for somehow was directed. And I didn't even see the joke, and I just know the blood drained from my face. I don't think Sandler was there. Obviously not.
Yeah.
And I remember being invited, and I remember you walking outside and just fucking going, "Hey, man," like a fucking shithead. I was like, you're like, "Oh, hey, man," like knowing that it was such a loaded moment. Like, how am I supposed to react? And I took the bait. I was measured. I go, you know, I don't get that piece, man. Why would you say that? And I have this stupid thing about comics ragging on other comics, you know. I go, why would you say that? Oh, yeah, because I said it's his home turf.
In his home club.
That freaked you out. You'll have to explain why that freaked you out. But I go, I said, why would you do that? You know he's my friend. It's not fucking true. And why would you say that in front of all the people? His home club, yes. And why would you, and not parenthetically, but the subtext is, why would you say that in front of me? What do you want to fucking say? Now, I might not have said it too articulately or clearly, but you decided you were ready, and you jumped on top of my energy by 150% of that, and immediately started an assault on me. Outside the fucking Improv, near that phone booth, I'll never forget it. You're like, you motherfucker, and you just let it fly. Do you remember going off on me? You did. To the point where, and I've never had the point before where I saw you on top of me like some fucking cartoon of a guy.
Like over you?
Over me.
My body had extended when I was yelling to your head.
You were, and you were letting it all hang out. I'm not exaggerating. And I had to look up because you were so on your toes and in my face. And I remember literally sort of taking my right arm back going, do I have to hit Marc Maron? Which is a place I would never go with you.
God.
But I literally thought it was a part defensive, part like this is so escalated that it's going to end in violence on a street in front of a comedy club.
What ended up happening?
Oh,
I don't remember.
You separated. You did a fuck,
and
turning, wheeling, turning back.
Really?
Well,
and was there other people around?
Too. I didn't back you off. You
around.
backed yourself off because you knew it was a crazy moment. There were people around, And I walked away. And honestly, quite honestly, whatever that was, I walked away and I remember walking down towards Stanley going, I think I got to give Marc a break. I mean, in my arrogant way, I was like, I have to put Marc on the bench. Yeah. But really, I was like, oh, him and I can't hang for a while. And that's, to me, a real divide that ended 10 years of isolation. And
it was just a decade of rage at your success.
Yeah.
So, all right. So in my mind, I'm like, he's a Sandler stooge.
Yeah.
That's what.
Understandable. Yeah.
That was how I framed you.
Yeah.
When did he become I think I might have said that to you. You're a Sandler stooge.
Yeah. Posse, entourage
I like
guy.
stooge.
Stooge is fine. A lot of people could be called that, and I'll accept it, but I never looked at myself there. I always thought it was an integral part of whatever we were doing.
Sure.
But,
it's a group effort.
But he definitely was, the cult of personality built around him.
Things happened after that. I mean, we must have had some sort of truce. And I guess it was in and out, but then not until with the first season of Maron, I'm like, well, I'm going to call Steve and see if he wants to, right? Isn't that the first time we saw each other in years, really? Was, when? When did you come over?
I emailed you.
Yeah.
On the podcast that started and just got out in the public, like the New York Times article.
Right.
And I hadn't talked to you in years, and I saw that, and I read that, and then I listened to a few, and I was like, wow. I mean, it's such an interesting experience knowing you back then. Hit the pause button, come back, and then there's an engaged, intelligent, compassionate Marc Maron, or not compassionate, whatever. You were so...
You can say compassionate.
Yeah, well, listening, the listening aspect,
okay.
and that part of you...
You don't want to give me compassionate. Well, something. It was different. It was
at the end of the day. Are you compassionate?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think I'm more empathetic.
Empathetic, genuinely interested person, which wasn't my necessary experience, but you were interesting and you were engaging, and there was something about how you handled yourself in the show that to me was like, oh my God, this is.
Were you happy for me?
I experienced the rare feeling of true happiness for someone else.
Really?
Yes, in the business, who I'd had ups and downs with.
Yeah.
Because first I wasn't threatened by it. I was like, I love when I can do things like I couldn't do that.
Right.
I can't do that shit. I can't fucking bring shit out of people.
I'm allowed to have.
I'm allowed to have things
to be happy for him.
Exactly.
It doesn't threaten me at all.
I can't do that. I love listening to him. Is he directing a movie? Fucker, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That won't work for me. But
yeah.
But no, I thought you were incredible, and then your stand-up, which I plugged back into, and I started listening to that, and I was like, oh my God, he somehow pulled it all together, created his own medium, so to speak, and has something going on back there.
Were you surprised?
No, because I always believed in your mind.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I did, but I was surprised that you beat the clock, or that somehow, the second act of your life
Holy shit.
turned out. So to me, it was also a great story.
Right.
And that I could feel to the degree that I could feel, not part of, but I was there for it. So I also felt proprietary to a degree.
When I was trying to figure out who to talk to, about where I come from, or that isn't just childhood stories or stuff that goes through. You're the only guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you were the only guy there at the beginning, really, literally at the beginning of my, trying to get into show business.
Right.
It's bizarre. And the type of contempt and jealousy and weirdness that we had all the way through.
Yeah.
Because you always had your shit together.
So you think? I mean, I would
I
disagree,
know,
but yeah.
But you were able. I mean, just the fact that you took responsibility for an $80 million movie, and then were able to shoulder the disaster.
Yeah.
You know, and it helped that Adam helped you, but like that was complete. See, the one thing I didn't realize early on, or even now sometimes, is that there's no way I could have handled any responsibility. Like, I did what I had to do because I was, like, out of control in so many levels. Emotionally, I had no idea what it meant to make money or how to be diplomatic or how to sort of schmooze properly. I was just this fucking, man-child raging through the world that you put up with for a good many years. And, like, when we had that email exchange, because I did, after we reconnected, I brought you in to maybe direct Maron, for a few episodes. That didn't work out. But then, like, we were like, should we be friends? And then all that shit that we just talked about.
Yeah.
You're like, let's reconnect. And I'm like, you don't remember.
Well, you never said that. I would have bought that. I mean, that all came out after. But part of me, when I came back towards you, I put on the fucking wash of nostalgia. Everything became fine. All those things became quaint and cute and part of growing up. And I did not take responsibility for any of the fucking bullying or anything. Yeah. I was like, my guy Mark. He's going to love seeing me. We'll talk about stuff. We were partners. I want to do a show, too. I want to work on it. Which I did just to, like, hang out with you and be part of what you have going on. Right. Which is not what I have going on. Right. I was like, that's cool. I like to fucking jam with them. Yeah. But you had other plans in your head. You were like, oh, this fucking guy, here he comes back. And it's just sad to me that part of you was like, oh, now I'm getting on my feet and here he comes back. Is that true, some of that?
Well, I didn't reach out to you, obviously. I didn't really frame it that way until I rethought it. Yeah. Like, I wasn't seeking to teach you a lesson. Right. Because, what am I really going to teach you? I'm not saying that element wasn't there, but I did in the moment where I decided to bring you in to direct. I thought, we do have this thing that was always there, and it might work. But then I remembered other things. I'm like, well, he's a little headstrong, and like all the other stuff. Like, that's really what brought up all the weird anger. Was that like I started to picture us working together. Yeah, and then it all came back.
Wow, interesting.
Like, what came back was like me doing plays that you were directing, and what a fucking horror show that was because we had this friendship, and then like you would treat me like any other asshole. Like, there was one time where I had to meet a chick like at the Union, at George Sherman Union, and it was rehearsal, and we were done with rehearsal, and you were giving notes, and I had to meet this chick, and I'm like, I gotta go. He's like, no, you said you can't go. And I was like, fuck you, like all this weird shit of working with you. Right. Because of the way we worked. You're like, I'm the guy, I got a handle on this. You're at it. You're fucking nuts. So that all came back, and I was like, there's no fucking way. Wow. How is that not going to come back?
Well, I wish you told me that, so you're feeling, because instead what I got was I was about to direct a movie, and I was like, I got a month left before, and Mark hasn't called me back about directing an episode. What the fuck? That's kind of lame. I'll text him. He's a texter guy. I text him going, Mark, what's up with this? I got like this month free, and Mark writes back, it's not going to happen. To which I go, welcome to Hollywood. I literally looked at that thing and go, well, you learned the language. You learned how to dismiss friends. You learned how to say it in the least amount of words, coldest way possible. It's not going to happen. This is like a Godfather thing. You ain't going to see him no more. Thanks, Mark. The total dismissive one-line thing, it's not going to happen. I was like, okay. Pause, hit that pause mark button again. See you later, fucker. I went off, directed my movie. We tried to have one more meeting. Even then, though, we had one more lunch. But you kind of
every time I see you, I'm happy to see you. Like,
me too. You kind of pushed the lunch. So here's the quick ending to the story, or where it goes wrong again. We had a lunch while I was in pre-production of my movie. I wanted to see if there was a role for you. It didn't really matter. You didn't really care, but
I did care. You never. Where was my role?
There wasn't anything big enough because you still wanted health insurance at that point. But and there was a discussion of that at the fucking lunch. And I'm like, and so we replay certain roles in our life again. I guess I was thinking that. Shit. And then, but at the lunch, you had been shooting your thing. The first thing you do when you sit down is go, yeah, I just did this episode where there's a director who comes in and he's, the whole episode's about this, that. Then I go, okay, thanks for telling me the whole episode. There's a director in it, whatever. And I go, okay, good story. And then we keep talking. And then I see the episode like a few months later. And I feel attacked and set up and horribly
the Eric Stoltz episode?
The Eric Stoltz one, because that's obviously, as anyone who listened to this would see, there's no one else that fits the profile of that character in your life. And to the degree that it's autobiographical, I took it very personally. And, I didn't like it. And then I wrote you an email saying, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
And then another slew of emails, and then we didn't talk for another 8 months till now.
Is that 8 months already?
Yeah, it was the summer. Last summer. Yeah.
Well, this is a recurring issue in terms of interpretation. Like in my mind, like I didn't think, I thought that character was broad enough.
Yeah.
You know, it obviously was based on some things, but I didn't mean it to be a personal attack, and I didn't think that
really?
No. I didn't.
Well, let me just say the worst part was, sorry, this is personal, but when I first saw you, when I came back the first time I saw you after 10 years, you were on your porch, I came up, and no part of me was like, oh, there's Mark, give me a hug. I go to give you a hug, and you literally stick out your hand and push me away with your hand.
I did?
Yes. This is in your show, okay?
That's what
Stoltz does to you the minute you walk into the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
He goes for a hug, and you're like, handshake, whatever. Did I remember that?
No. I don't remember taking that part of it.
You did.
Okay.
That is what, in my thin skin, that's what offended me the most.
Well, the weird thing is, like, doing the type of work that I do, which is too close to the bone, that I'm obviously running this problem. My father and I aren't talking.
Yes.
I don't know how my mother's going to handle this.
Right.
You know, I've had girlfriend, and wife issues with this kind of stuff, and it has made me rethink a lot of that. But for some reason with that, with the character based on you, I didn't, there were certain things that I thought were handled well, and I didn't think that I looked like the winner in that situation, really. And I thought that it was exaggerated enough.
Yeah.
But okay.
But there was a contempt for that character, which the author of the piece had, which ultimately I feel, which is fine. And you got to do what you do. I mean, I understand. But I
also knew that, when you wrote me that email and you said that it hurt your feelings, I'm like, no one's going to know. But you.
That's true. I didn't care. I didn't care. But I felt like the boy at Christmas because I'd become a Mark fan again. I was sitting there rooting for you, watching the show, going, good episode. And then I just literally my face frowning when you say, like, well, that guy hack, that fucking guy. And now, however much you may, I'm thin-skinned, I was like, I felt bad.
And you said I embarrassed you in front of your family, and you were,
well, my family didn't watch it. I made that up.
You did?
Yeah. I wanted to say, imagine I had my wife and family around.
You didn't say imagine.
There's Mark.
You said it happened.
No, it was me on the couch alone, and then my wife came in and goes, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Ugh, Mark just attacked me," and I wouldn't let her see it. So no, it wasn't my family watching it live.
So that was it for effect. So you fictionalized something to hurt me.
I did.
But the thing that you said was that because of the way that ended was that like I invite the Stoltz character onto my podcast. He fantasizes that it gives him credibility with the and you were like, if you think. You were like, and that was like completely, I didn't think that, but like you were like, if you think that I'm gonna.
The point about that was...
who the fuck does he think he is?
You did a line in the show where Stoltz said something, and you said to him, you just want some of my cred, or you'll be on my thing, you just want some of my cred. You had said that to that character, and then later he was on the show.
And it turned out to be his fantasy. That was his fantasy, is that he would be able to do my podcast.
Right, why?
Because
he wanted to be part of this cool thing. And I've said things like, I wanted to be part of this cool thing, but you fucking asshole. But I deserve to be because this is the right context of me being part of your history. As a working performer, I said to you, by the way, cocksucker, you fucking said, what? Oh, now I'm mad. Because that first time I contacted you, you said, let's have lunch. Why don't you come on? We'll get on the mics. And I said, I don't know if I'm that interesting because you'd already had these cool guests with, everyone knew comedy-wise.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I'm there yet for your audience.
Right.
And you said, oh, no, I think you are, but whatever. And I feel that way. I'm like, I've done movies. People kind of know my movies.
Yeah.
Whatever. Some like them, some don't. But I didn't think I was like the great material unless it was related to you, which is why yesterday you said, I want to do something related to you. And I go, perfect. It makes perfect sense. But then... fucking in the middle of that last go-round last year, I said I heard you do a great fucking podcast with someone, and I felt like I felt very connected to you, and I wrote back and I go, I think I want to do your show. And you said, it's not going to happen.
I did not.
No, you said another word like, timing's not right, bro, or something.
Come on.
Oh, you did. That I could show you. And I was like, I put myself out there, and he shut me down.
I guess I was mad.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know. Well, where are we now?
Well,
we're good.
Are we?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to hang out. We have I have a wife and a family. What are you doing now?
I got no wife or no family.
You have a girlfriend?
Not anymore.
Oh, you don't have
a girlfriend? I got nothing. I can't get this right.
No. Well,
it's all right.
So it's almost over.
What's going on? Yeah, I know. Final quarter.
Doesn't matter. You can run the clock down with this thing.
Okay. So how do we repair this?
This is it. I don't know. We'll see. No, it's just.
Can you let it go?
Yeah, I can let it go. I mean, I'm a little thin-skinned about that.
So am I.
Yeah.
I know you're thin-skinned, and I guess I have to own that I overdid it. I mean,
okay.
I overdid the thing, but the character was not you. No. I mean, that character was
he's slick and
and very Hollywood.
And, and
not
there's no party that thought I was very Hollywood. You saw whatever. It was an exaggeration. Whatever. It's amazing to me like how you're able to do it. And for the most part, fuck everyone. And I'm sorry. I think what you do is great. And what Judd does great when he writes about his life, and when the best stuff you do is when you're right on that edge.
Well, look,
and if I'm collateral once in a while, I can handle it, but I think it's the way to go.
I apologize. So, I sincerely...
That's okay, but I don't want to seem like a censor or a prude, so go for it if you have to.
No, but it's like...
If I fucking had a show right now, I'd go for you.
You would?
I would, because you're fascinating, interesting, and...
A disaster.
No, not so much.
Not anymore.
Your story's getting a little too happy, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like... You've risen.
Well, all right. Well, so we're going to be all right then?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
I didn't get the feeling that he was really over that Eric Stoltz thing, and I think that we're going to continue our friendship. I'd like to. I'd like to think that I am a 50-year-old man. I'm emotionally 20 if I'm lucky. It's one of the blessings of not being able to sustain a grown-up relationship and not having children is that you can remain emotionally hobbled and completely neurotic in the same way you did when you were in your teens. It's a blessing, folks. It's a blessing. And I think also that a lot of time I spend on this show, I do need your love. I don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it, and I'll certainly fight it, and I'll certainly challenge it. And I know some of you find me irritating. And I know some of you find me difficult, but I have to assume I'm looking to the ether and to all of you to sort of carry me. And it took me a long time to come to that, as an entertainer or as whatever the fuck it is I do. But I guess it goes back to when I was a kid. Let's talk to my mother. Why don't we get my mother on the phone? My mother, who had to evolve the ability to love me and learn how to be a mother. It happened very late. I think it was in my 40s. But I'd like to know what she thinks in terms of where I'm at in my life and how or if I've changed. And I don't know what she feels about it. I think I'm still okay with my mommy. Let's call my mommy.
Hello?
Hi, Mom. It's Mark. Can you hear me?
Not as good as I heard you before.
Oh, yeah? Hold on. Let me see if I can fix it.
You sound very far away right now.
All right. How about now?
Yeah, I can make it out.
Basically, Mom.
Mark.
I guess what I want to talk to you about is, were you worried that I wasn't going to make it?
Most of the time, I always knew you'd make it.
Yeah?
Yeah, there were times when you were not all, you were boozing and that stuff that I got scared.
Like scared that I was going to die or that I was just going to throw my life away?
Throw your life away.
Uh-huh. And, has my success changed you at all about things?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, certainly.
How?
I'm a proud mother. I walk around and they say, oh, there's Mark's mother.
Do they?
Yeah. Are you kidding? And it's just a good feeling to know that you've got what you finally worked so hard for.
And you listen to the podcast regularly, right?
Regularly.
And that's how you know what's going on with my life.
That's about the size of that, and I read your newsletter.
Yeah, well, I'm glad.
And then I send it to my friends who I think will want to read it too.
Like who?
My friend Shelley, and there's another 2 people in the development who are very into you. I send it to them and to my nieces.
So you're actually able to be proud of me now.
Mark, it was not that I was always proud of you.
Uh-huh.
I was very sad a lot of times that I was just afraid you weren't going to get what you deserved.
Well, I guess that comes with when you choose a career in show business, I guess you just never know. But I mean, I have to assume that all those years where I was miserable and I was trying very hard to do something that, I know there were periods there where you must have thought like, well, he's not quite there yet. Like whatever he's trying to do, it's not quite right yet. Like when you'd watch me do stand up and you'd be like, nah, that's what.
Yeah, sometimes when I saw you do stand up, but once you started on Air America,
yeah,
I used to run with you every morning, and from then on, it was like I knew that things were going to start happening. Even when you were on that program with your friend Steve, what was his name?
Sam Cedar.
Sam, yeah. I just knew that eventually you were going to catch on.
Well, you thought that, because you thought radio was a good medium for me?
Yes.
And now, I know you haven't seen too much of the new season, but, all right. When I talk about you or when when I talk about, Dad or our family, or now that, I have Sally Kellerman playing you on the show, I mean, does that make you uncomfortable?
No.
It doesn't, right?
I'll tell you what makes me uncomfortable. When it's a sexual episode, and there's stuff that I don't have to know about. Oh,
you mean about me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you don't like to see your son making out with women?
Or, just depends on the episode. I mean, there were a few in the first
season.
That I found embarrassing.
For me?
Yes. Yeah, of course for you.
Not for you.
Well, I was embarrassed because it works both ways.
It's uncomfortable. Now
it was uncomfortable.
But you don't mind Sally Kellerman playing you, right?
No, I like it.
And I know you saw a little bit of the family episode. You haven't seen all of it yet, but you seem to have some issue with that. What was the issue with that?
It wasn't as crazy as the family as it really is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have made it.
It was dull. It didn't show how dysfunctional we really were.
Oh, I'm trying to protect some people. I mean, Dad's not talking to me, and I don't I'm talking a bit on this episode about, the risks we take if we talk about our lives and our families involved. And, I think it might have permanently strained my relationship with him. What do you think I should do about that?
I think you should do what you're doing. You're trying to make amends.
Yeah? Do you think?
Yeah.
So you think I should, maybe get in contact with him and see if I can make it right?
Yep.
Just for my own sake?
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not for his, for yours. No, if he dies tomorrow, I don't know how you'll feel. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm not telling you to get down on your knees, but just to make an effort to see if you can just, if he can let the whole thing go. Yeah. I don't know if he can ever do that.
Yeah, I guess it's not, whether he can do that or not, it's not really my issue.
No.
I guess I just have to apologize for causing him undue stress.
I guess that would be the way to go.
But do you think he was overreacting?
I think the man is a little crazy, yes.
Okay.
I think that's just him. He just twists everything around. Of course he was overreacting.
Okay. All right.
It was funny.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll have to figure it out. But, all right. But so you're happy then. You're relaxed and I'm finally doing okay.
Yes.
Well, I love you, Mom.
Is that it? I'm done?
Well, what do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I just want you to know that I do love you.
Okay.
And I'm super proud of you. And I can honestly tell you, Mark, that when I hear your interviews, I'm in awe. Mm-hmm. I just can't imagine how you come about bringing all these people out like you do. I think it's totally amazing.
All right.
And I'm in awe. What can I tell you? That's the truth.
Well, that makes me happy to hear. I'm glad that I've impressed you and that you're proud of me.
And I'm glad you found this niche that is so great for you.
All right, I'm a little choked up now. Thank you, Mom.
I love you more.
I love you too. Bye.
Bye.
See, I felt good about that conversation. I got choked up, and it's my mom. But there's some weird thing about my mom and me is that I don't know, and I've told you guys this before. I mean, she's my mom, but she feels like just someone I grew up with that occasionally I have a hard time with, and it's a little tense. But I got to be honest with you. What she said about my father, and it's a different game. It's a different game with that guy. I don't know. It's just different. But I can tell you this, it is, and I felt it deeply, that the fact that my mother's impressed with this ability that I didn't really possess throughout most of my life, not that I could acknowledge. I mean, I think most of the time that when I was growing up and certainly in relationships with other people, I was always called completely self-involved or selfish, or I didn't know how to listen, or I didn't know how to sort of really hear other people. And that's something that certainly has nourished my life, and certainly that I learned on this show, that, I could emotionally engage safely with people I was talking to. I could open up and let them have a moment or many moments. I seem to have been able to somehow make myself available for other people to have their own revelations, their own, moments of catharsis. And I don't think there's a better example of that than the Todd Hanson episode. Todd was the original, I think you could call him head writer of The Onion, and we sort of over two sessions, moved through his suicide attempt. And you can go listen to that if you want. But this episode has been requested by professors and clinicians who want to teach this episode in their classes, in terms of, how to, for one, I believe was for sort of bedside manner, and also how to be there for somebody else's movement through emotionally difficult narrative in their own life. And Todd even identified this idea of feeling not so alone when you hear someone else talk about similar problems. And the feedback on this episode was astounding. Just, thousands of emails from different angles of reactions to suicide, either people that have attempted suicide or people that have had families who have attempted it or actually achieved it. It was just a profound moment for me, primarily in that I have to fight my urge to step on people in terms of talking. Like, I have to fight the urge to finish sentences. I have to fight the urge to interject what I think they're going to say. It's not something I have perfected, but this moment with Todd, there was many moments during this episode, but it was the first time I allowed myself really to be fully emotionally available to a guest, and to not talk, but to provide some sort of grounding for whatever they were sharing with me. And it had a big effect on my life, both in my personal life and on this show.
A component of mental health is a slight inability to see things accurately. You see things just as, people who are mentally healthy consistently test they have a slightly higher opinion of themselves than they're actually worth, or they think that their life is just a little bit better, or they think that some looming disaster isn't as bad as it really is.
It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Now, what we talked about, though, that you wanted to make sure that we talked about.
I just wanted to say I'm sorry to all those people. I mean,
about the selfishness.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this a little bit, that I had left this note saying, I'm really sorry. But that wasn't good enough, It's a selfish thing to do, to take people's love and not give it back, And if you abandon them, then all of the investment of love that they gave you you just transmute it into pain, and it's not fair to them. So, I mean, not only do I thank all of those people, but I also apologize to them. I mean, I've said this to all of them many times, and they're sick and tired of hearing it, to be honest, but I just thought it was important to say not only thank you, but I'm sorry. And it will not happen again.
Well, I love you, man.
Well, I think you're a wonderful human being, Mr. Marc Maron, and every time you tell your jokes, I relate.
Well, now,
so thank you. I mean, many people have said to me, oh, I'm depressed, and I love reading about, reading The Onion because it's so much darker than anything else, and it's willing to be honest about the real nature of things, and maybe if that helps people, I don't know. You doing that same thing has helped me.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, man.
All right.
As far as I know, the last I heard, Todd was doing well. Not unlike with many of us, the struggle continues, but I think he's doing better. And it's always good to hear. I should probably call him. I should probably deal with my father, too. I know a lot of you, I've gotten feedback from you about this problem I'm having with my father, and I understand that he's upset, but a lot of you, again, the dynamic of father-son relationships, parent-children relationships, it is what it is, and you guys know some, but it becomes very difficult. I know there's part of me that thinks like, well, he's old and you don't know, you understand that he's got his problems and you should be able to just to suck it up and deal with it. But I really dumped a load of shit on him that he believes he didn't deserve. And I guess if I frame it like that, that's probably true. He probably didn't deserve that. But my story was my story, and my story with him was a defining element of my life, and he responded the way he responded. I don't know that I owe him an apology for that, but I certainly didn't want to cause him grief or any more hardship than he already had, but, it did that. So I guess I can apologize for I don't know how to handle it, because I don't want to open up a can of worms, and I did get very angry at him, and I did dump about 50 years of my sadness and anger at him onto him, and I guess there's an argument to be made. Maybe you should do that with a third party. Maybe you don't do that with a 75-year-old man or however old he is. I don't know. Maybe that vitality is exactly what I got from my father. Maybe that vitality, maybe that weird strain of spite is exactly why he persists in the world and keeps moving forward. I do have this sad feeling that when I lost my shit on my father, that somewhere in his heart he realized, like, yeah, that's my boy. I mean, he had to have done that, but I do have to resolve this thing, and I will. I will resolve it.
Hello.
Hey, Dad.
How you doing, kid?
How you doing?
Better that you called.
Well, I'm going to be out there, and we should get together and just fix this. Let's get past this. It's stupid.
It is.
The bottom line is I never set out to hurt you or betray you or do anything shitty. I just was telling my story, and it had these effects, and it makes me feel horrible on some level. And I don't feel bad that I did it, but I feel bad that it fucked you up so much, and you didn't need any extra stress. And whatever my anger is, it's like enough already. I don't know if one of us dies. I don't need this shit, being between us one way or the other.
Thank you.
We're both what we are. We're stubborn, we're angry people, and, it just, I don't feel like going through the rest of my life, with this wall here. You're having a tough time, and I have my own tough time. Let's just fucking deal with it. It's not like we live down the block from each other, so I don't need this shit either,
Appreciate it so much.
You all right?
Yeah.
Look, whatever your fucking anger is, or however you think I fucked you, it's like, we just can't go back there, and I won't go back to mine. You know what I mean? I mean, I want you to be all right, and I swear to God, I didn't mean to fucking cause you more problems. I just thought I was telling my story, and it had these horrible repercussions. What the fuck? I don't know that I was completely sensitive to the repercussions it would have. I mean, you're not the only one. In my mind, it was like, well, who's going to know but me and you, and who's going to know but me and, Jessica or Mishna or whoever the fuck it is. When you do what I do, there are these repercussions, and I guess it just took me something. I just got to learn my lesson, or figure out some other way to do it, or just live with it, or end up alone because no one's going to want to be with me because they're afraid I'm going to talk about them. So fuck it.
I've always liked and respected your comedy. It was never an issue, but this just got big. So it became an issue which I felt bad about. I'm happy that you called. I'm glad we can move forward and forget all this bullshit.
Here's the real deal. Whatever the list of violations are in your mind is that, we're difficult people. We've had these fucking things before. This is not, it's not unique to us and not unique to our relationship, but I think the dimension of, the book and the TV show and then, the feelings around that stuff, that just made it even worse. But I mean, we've been through this before.
Yeah. I love you and forgive you for all that stuff.
All right. I love you too, and I'll call you when I get there, and I'll let you know when I'm coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. And finally, to some degree, the one thing I am not good at is realizing that I've done anything. I just keep moving. I keep moving. But, if there's one moment in the past 500 episodes that really best sums up the entire, WTF endeavor, it was a conversation with Norm Macdonald. All right, look, to be honest with you, look, I knew Norm like Norm. I didn't know Norm. I had no idea whether he'd even be able to talk like a person before he came to the garage. I was incredibly stressed out about it. I get stressed out before every interview, but I really didn't know where Norm was coming from. And we almost immediately ended up having this very warm and very revealing and very connected conversation. And he felt this need to congratulate me for creating this thing, for having something I could call my own. And it's just that I had no choice. I had no choices left other than to do something. No one was going to help me. No one was going to step up and parent me through some amazing career in entertainment. And, I was alone. I was depressed. I was broke. And I started talking here. But, when he sort of hit me in the head with it. And even in receiving the compliment, I had to tell him that the only real obstacle for me has always been me. But that part of me has always been operative. And that part of me gave me the struggle that I have, and it gave me the life that I have. And it could have gone either way. It could always go either way. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But I do know, for a fact that I've given you this show. I've given myself this show. I've done something with my life, and it has some degree of relevance to a lot of people. And the type of feedback and the type of feelings that I've gotten, around this show have been completely beyond anything I could have imagined. And I'm proud of that, and I'm thrilled that it means so much to so many people. And to the fact, like, even in this conversation with Norm, I mean, we were virtual strangers, and we had a moment where we actually said we love each other. And we don't talk, but I think in that moment, it meant a lot. Well, I'm glad you're doing okay, man. I really.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you are, man. This is awesome. This is so.
Sorry, it's so hot.
It's so cool. It is hot, but it's cool. You got this thing that's your own, and you don't have to listen to.
Yeah, no one can really tell me what to do except bad Mark.
I talked to Bob Costas, and he does. You're not a sports fan, but
I like him. He's all right.
He's great, but he does baseball. These fucking baseball guys know everything. And it was after I got fired and shit. And he said, fuck. He goes, I know how it is. He goes, I got people in my ear, these producers telling me. I'm like, you do? Like, he calls baseball games. Even he's got fucking guys like, they say this,
Really?
Yeah, he says people are saying in his ears, and he's like, it's always nonsense shit,
Yeah.
So it's nice that you have a place where a guy doesn't go, hey, ask him this.
No, I'm very grateful that it's working out, and I love doing it. But I do have a guy within me that says, like, the other shoe's going to drop, dude.
Oh, well,
you're
that's
gonna fuck up. Yeah.
But something is going to happen.
Thanks,
That's
Norm.
the bad part.
All right, let's leave it there.
Okay. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. That was as I said before, it was quite quite a conversation with Norm. But, ultimately, it's a conversation with you. You people that listen, you listen, you eavesdrop, you hear, you follow me, you tell me, shut up. You tell me, let the guy talk. You tell me, why don't you ask that question? You say, that was a good one, Mark. Ultimately, this is your show. I'm talking to you. And I couldn't do it without you. I really couldn't. I don't keep in mind every day just how many people listen to the show. I try to keep it, just between us, because I don't want to get a big head about anything. All I know is that twice a week, I put this show up for you, and I interview people a lot. I talk to a lot of people, and if the idea of not putting up a show, it's frightening to me. And the idea of not having conversations in this garage is frightening to me. If I go for a week or two without talking to somebody in here, I get squirrely. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what to do. And that's the urgency that drives me, is that I have no idea what to do with myself if I'm not doing this. And I'm going to keep trying to, evolve, become a better person, or whatever the fuck it is. I'll keep sharing as much of it with you as I can without hurting other people or getting myself into trouble, legally or otherwise. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. So what happened with you guys, though? Because was that volatile? Was that
Yeah. You come to a point where you just don't want to hear what the other guy has to say, Both of us, Kind of.
Well, I think what happened is that Cheech got divorced, and I was part of the divorce settlement. Okay, you get Chong. And I get the house.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good deal.
And Lawrence sat me down, and I swear to God, here's how it went. He goes, Jim, we're thinking about using Marc Maron as the update guy. Do you have thoughts on him? Okay. I think he'll be the best news guy you've ever had in your life. You need to know, a lot of people have problems with him. I go, he pisses people off. Am I best friends with him? No. Do I love the guy? No. And he's like, no, that's pretty much the feedback I get from everyone.
One funny thing happened with the genealogy report. He said, well, your family is, from the rural mountain community. And in those communities, no one ever leaves the community, and no one ever comes into the community. And just like you did, I started laughing.
You knew where he was going.
I knew where he was going, and I was almost in tears laughing. He goes, so it's not uncommon for there to be inbreeding inside of those communities. And I said, is there inbreeding in my family? He goes, a significant amount.
It's just fun opportunities to do weird stuff.
You like to do that.
To keep people scratching their heads.
Right.
I mean, there's people like you who get it and appreciate it, but a lot of people are like, why? Why? What? Explain it again? A movie in Spanish? Do you speak Spanish? No? Okay. And it's all in Spanish, though? Yeah, subtitled in English. Okay. And it's a comedy. Yes. Oh, yeah, good. That's fun.
So, a man shows up at the door, and I let him in. They're both looking at me, and I realize, holy shit, this is Kevin Macdonald. I don't know who this Kevin Macdonald is. I don't know what he does. I've never seen him before in my fucking life. But he's here to be interviewed because we scheduled it. I did not know this is Kevin Macdonald. This is Kevin Macdonald showed up at my house. Macdonald. Not Mcdonald. So I literally have no fucking idea who this guy is.
I'm going to say it to you here, right here and now. Uh-huh. With love, the day Joan Rivers dies, I'm going to make a killer zing.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks.
I'm going to zing the shit out of her.
It's an interesting idea to me. The idea that people need to have something to be up against.
For the listeners at home, he just wrote it down, so it's clear that he is going to work it out later a little bit. And I'm impressed.
How long have you had that shirt you're wearing right now?
It's pretty new.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I got it, like, I got it from the TV show. They bought it for me. So, what, you think I need a new shirt?
Well, you know.
Okay. I'm going to write that down. Get new shirts. RuPaul says so.